Hello, let's learn some basic footwork. First of all, you need to stand in a balanced fighting stance. Stand with your feet parallel to your shoulders. Now, move your left foot forward one step. Make sure you keep shoulder-width space between your feet. If you stand too narrow, you will have no balance. Now, turn your hip and back foot slightly in a 45-degree angle. Your front foot should be in approximately a 75-degree angle. Bend your knees slightly, dropping your weight through the center of your body, and slightly lift your heels. Your weight should be centered 50% on each leg, and you should be relaxed. This is the orthodox stance. If you're left-handed and wish to use the southpaw stance, it's the same thing but with your right foot in front. The fighting stance will vary between person depending on height and body type. This is a general guide for you to start off with. Now that you have a balanced stance, we can proceed to the footwork. The first thing you must understand is that fighting footwork is not the same as regular walking. When you walk or run, you move the rear foot first, moving it across your front foot. The main rule in footwork is that the direction in which you wish to move determines which foot moves first. This keeps a space between both feet at all times, maintaining a balanced weight distribution between both legs, and preventing the feet from crossing each other. The feet must never cross when fighting. Now, let's start practicing moving forward. Keeping your fighting stance at all times, move your front foot first, transferring the weight to the rear leg and pushing from the ball of the foot of the rear foot. The leading foot will move forward and it will drag the rear foot along. When you land, your weight will be centered again and your feet should both end up with the same distance and position as you had before moving. As you move, both feet should always be close to the ground. Do not raise your feet above the floor too much. Now, let's move backwards. Before, the lead foot dragged the rear foot. Now we want to go in the opposite direction, so we will do the opposite action. The rear foot will raise slightly, transferring the weight to the front leg. The rear foot will drag backwards and you will push from the front foot. You should end up on the same stance as you started off from. Now, try going one step forward and one step back to get more comfortable with these movements. Alright, now let's move to the sides. Just like before, the direction in which you go determines which foot leads. So, if you move to the left foot drags, the right foot pushes. And the opposite applies if you move to the right. Again, do not cross your feet while moving, and keep the length and width of your stance between steps, moving in parallel lines. Now, practice moving only to the left. Remember, the left foot drags, the right foot pushes. And now to the right. The right foot drags, the left foot pushes. And now alternate between right and left. Do one step to one side, one step to the other side, and mix it up. 2 steps, 1 step, 3 steps. So you get used to moving sideways or sidestepping. Always check that you have a proper stance and good balance. Now let's combine all 4 directions, doing 2 steps in each direction. Go forward 2 steps, go back 2 steps, go left 2 steps, go right 2 steps, and return to the center position. Now, if you feel comfortable, you can mix it up a little bit, randomizing how many steps you do in each direction, as long as you keep a good balance and a good stance. Practicing how to change steps between different directions. The more you do it, the more natural it will become. Let's take a look at some common mistakes. I cannot reiterate enough, do not cross your feet. If you got caught with your feet crossed, you will be taken down. Crossing your feet actually does exist in footwork, but it's a more advanced concept and it's used for specific striking situations. So for now, just focus on normal stepping without crossing your feet. A second common mistake is jumping or hopping as you move. You don't want to elevate your feet from the ground too much. You want to hover close to the ground. So avoid jumping around or hopping too much when you move. This will break your balance and your stability. You want to have a rooted stance, close to the ground. Lastly, try to keep the gap between your feet constant at all times. If you narrow your stance too much while moving, you will completely lose balance. You need to keep proper gap between your feet, both in width and in length, to maintain proper balance. So, as a quick review of important details, don't raise your feet too much from the ground. Glide over the floor nice and smoothly. with your center of gravity close to the ground. Push from the balls of the foot. Try not to telegraph your movement with your eyes. Move without looking in which direction you're going. Now try doing some longer and shorter steps so you can practice and get more familiarized with your own personal range. Alright, let's add some punches and kicks now. Alright, let's start with forward, jab, cross, again. Forward, jab, cross, then backwards. Jab, cross, and again. Jab, cross. What you want to do is step into a balanced position and then throw the punches. As you get better, you will be able to do the steps and the striking in only one movement. But for starters, do it separately. Step, then strike. Now try to the sides, to the left and to the right, until you're comfortable throwing punches with steps in each direction. The striking is not important here. The coordination, the balance, and the proper stance are what really matter. We're just adding strikes to make you get more comfortable coordinating everything together. So focus on your balance. Let's do the same with a front kick now. Just as before, go forward, make sure you're in a stable position, then kick, then do it backwards. Then do it to the left and to the right. You can kick either with the back leg or the front leg. Ideally, you want to practice with both. But remember, the most important thing here is to keep a proper stance and good balance. Finally, let's combine punches and kicks. We're gonna stick to jab, cross, and front kick here. However, if you feel comfortable, you can use other techniques. I am just using these basic ones for this tutorial because they're easier. But depending on your skill level, you can use different techniques. Finally, just move around freestyle for a couple of minutes. It's just like shadow boxing, except without strikes. First, train doing only footwork, moving in the 4 directions as you have learned. And then, when you feel more comfortable, you can start adding some strikes to it. Punches, kicks, knees, etc. Try to loosen up and have fun. The idea here is to randomize it as much as possible, trying to visualize a fighting situation, as if you had an opponent in front of you. As you move forward, you want to go in for an offensive position, and when you move backwards, you want to go into a more defensive position. Moving to the sides, you can be avoiding an attack or going into an attacking position yourself, so use your imagination. Again, be relaxed and have fun. So, I hope this tutorial was helpful for you guys trying to learn some footwork. Leave me some comments or questions, and happy training.